It's called CHAT, or the Checklist for Autism in Toddlers, based on observing an 18-month-old child and asking the parents about their child's development. The more updated QChat, Quantitative Checklist for Autism in Toddlers, has narrowed the margin of error, meaning at least 75% of cases are detected.
Socialising, chatting, mixing in the playground, things that most children don't need to be taught, are precisely the skills that children with autism find the hardest.
Baron Cohen has also devised an educational DVD to teach children with autism how to recognise different emotions.
Sarah is happy to see Mark. See how she smiles broadly.
But he cautions against trying to medicate the disease.
I think in the UK we do have a slightly different view of the condition, where we still want to help where needed, but there's much more of a respect that this might be just a different pattern of development, that in the same way some people are developing as left-handed rather than right-handed.
A view which has helped Sarah enormously.
Everything's just all come together and started working, which I never thought would happen. My parents didn't. But yeah, I love my job. I'm married now, just feel stable.
Nine-year-old Jonas has a new dream. He wants to become a cameraman. Like many children with a form of autism called Asperger's syndrome, Jonas masters new skills fast and has a tremendous eye for detail. Both of these boys usually find mixing with other children extremely stressful. But not here.
For many of the children here this week, this is the first time that they've been able to pursue their own interests and play with other children without ever being made to feel that they're different.
This is a week-long camp near Kassel in the heart of Germany, especially designed for children with attention deficit disorder or, like Jonas, Asperger's syndrome. The camera is a good example, says Jonas's mother. He'll now go back to school, and always in the back of his mind, he'll know in situations where he's not so capable that he can use a camera. He can do things too. Not content with just being behind the camera, Jonas decides to set up an interview. In the hot seat, filmmaker and author Axel Browns, who's come to speak at the camp. Browns was so severely autistic as a child, he couldn't talk. The good thing about this kind of environment, he says, is that these young autistic people realize they don't have to hide themselves. They're normal in the autistic sphere. And my story is like hundreds of stories, even if other autistic people can't express theirs as well as I can. Lance explains to me the cover of his book. As an autistic 18-year-old, he says he felt like a parrot in a winter landscape. He was the exotic, warm-hearted, living character in a multitude of cold, unloving people who couldn't understand. In a supportive environment, these children begin to come out of their shells, and parents learn, often much to their surprise, how much they can do in the home environment to help their children cope. Parents hope this newfound confidence will roll over into life beyond the camp and help their children fulfill their dreams.
Jess loves music, she loves to dance, she loves to sing. She doesn't like to be confined in doing things within lines. She's a neat kid. I mean, she's very loving, she's very giving, we're the center of her universe. She's kind, she doesn't know about hate. She still thinks the flowers dance and the birds, you know, talk, and everything's a Mickey video. And that's her life.
Are you ready to count? Yes. Yeah, we're gonna count. Good job, you got it.
You mentioned she's here till she can't be here anymore. I mean, that time will come. What's next? I mean, what do you do with her next?
You're asking me something that's going to happen, and I don't even know what's going to happen to her next week. What's going to happen to her when she's 22? I don't know. I have nothing for retirement. I will probably still be working. I have no choice, just mainly for the insurance.
How hard is it to fight the insurance companies? How hard is it to get the coverage that you need for her medical care?
Oh, it's almost next to impossible.
How old are you? Yeah, you're 7.
For Ryan Unum, learning his age is part of a daily routine of intensive behavioral therapy. Since his diagnosis 5 years ago, Ryan's parents, Lori and Dan, know this treatment has worked wonders.
And then you realize how incredibly expensive it is. And if you're like Dan and me, you think, well, at least we have insurance, thank goodness. And then, insurance doesn't pay for it.
Cow.
Like most parents with autistic children, they found out the hard way, medical insurance generally doesn't cover autism treatment, and it's expensive. For the 40 hours a week Ryan gets, the bills are $70,000 to $80,000 a year. That's Lori's entire salary.
It's cost that much, and yet I consider us the lucky ones because we have good educations and good jobs, and so we can sacrifice that much money for his therapy. The people that just break my heart are the ones who can't.
As a lawyer and a law professor, Lori decided to do something about it to force insurance companies to cover autism. She wrote a bill, lobbied hard, and this summer, Ryan's bill will become Ryan's law in South Carolina.
It will provide up to $50,000 per year for behavioral therapy through the age of 16, and it prohibits discrimination in insurance matters just because of a diagnosis of autism. Thank you.
How she did it, how she and other parents went up against one of the most powerful industries in the nation and won, has become legend among parents of autistic children who flock to seminars to learn from the trailblazers how they could do the same in their own states. The health insurance industry warns that making coverage mandatory is ultimately a bad thing for the public.
We oppose the idea of mandates in general because we think in the end what happens is that health care is less affordable and less accessible when mandates are imposed.
But we wanted to know, why isn't autism treatment covered in the first place?
Many of the services that are now being billed or being asked of the healthcare system are traditionally educational services. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, for example, lists a number of services as educational and lists other services as medical.
In some ways, it's a public policy question. Either way, the Unums have fallen through the cracks. Surprisingly, the family behind Ryan's law won't actually benefit from it.
Not by this legislation.
No, we knew that. We knew that going through it.
Dan's company is self-insured. The state law does not apply. They hope one day they will get coverage, but for right now, it's one day at a time, one small gain at a time.
So how old are you?
How old?
Can you tell me?
7.
Oh, wow.
7. Good job.
How much do we really know about autism?
We know that children can be identified as early as 18 months. We know that early intervention makes a huge difference. We know that children have many talents despite the fact that they have the diagnosis. We know the kinds of intervention that they need. We know that they need to have a small group ratio. We know that we need to have highly trained teachers. We know that we need to train social skills and language and address problem behaviors immediately.